Hello, in this video I'm going to make a dynamic tail. Let's go to animation. There we go. So in this case, this gecko only has one controller and then just a skeleton, just to keep it simple. Okay. So it's got the just the controller. That's the parent of the joints here. Now, we're going to make the tail dynamic, and when you do that, it kind of stretches the tail out a little bit. So as you animate back and forth to the tail in this kind of bent position, let's do a little trick in order to maybe have an option to get back. So let's just duplicate this tail group. So now I've got tail 1 and tail 2, and this tail 2 I'm just gonna make that a separate layer that already exists. So I'll put an underscore at the end of it, save. Okay, so tail 2 is now in a separate layer, and we'll just ignore it for now. Okay, so for this tail 1, let's go let's grab the first joint, end joint, let's go to bonus tools, rigging, and make joints dynamic. And I'm just going to go with the default settings, create. What's my playback speed to be every frame? Sure, why not? Okay, so you see what it kind of stretched the tail out a little bit. That's okay. Now in order to play it back, so I'm going to go to rig here. In order to play it back, we can go to effects, and if we go to solvers, we can go to interactive playback. Control Shift click will add it to your shelf. I've already done that here. Okay, so let's give ourselves a bunch of frames. I'm going to say 10,000. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's select the controller, hit the W key, and I'm going to hit interactive playback. So now I can move them around and we can see how the tail would react. And it's a little goofy. If I were to animate it, it'd be a little hard to manage. Not too bad. So stop, let's rewind it. I'm going to reset my 0 key there. So let's just look at examining just some of the parameters of the follicle. Okay, so click on here, System 1. Let's go to Attributes. I generally like to have this docked over here. So I'm going to go to the collisions here, under Hair System Shape, Dynamic Properties, and the stiffness is set to, let's turn this to spline. So I might turn the stiffness down just a hair. I might add another bend link, or just a couple more bend links. I don't want it twisting. Might even take my bend resistance down just a touch. Maybe say 0.5. I want the compression and stretch on there. And the one thing I want to do is let's make a start curve attract. So that's going to make it to want to keep the initial curve. And we can set the attraction scale. So I'll do spline and maybe something like that. Might turn the mass up a little bit. Maybe a touch more on the drag, maybe a touch on the motion drag. But I think the biggest thing is just going to be that start curve attract. That's probably the biggest thing you're going to add. So let's rewind it. Interactive playback. And I think that's acting more like I'd like the tail to act. Might even be a little on the stiff side. So let's go back to this hair system. And I got the stiffness scale. I might even just turn that down just a little bit. Maybe 0.25. I can maybe dampen that curve attract just a little. Maybe turn it down a little bit there. Maybe make it heavier so it might bounce a little bit more. Maybe turn these down a little bit. Okay, and then another thing we can do is we could also go to the nucleus, which controls everything. And we could even up the gravity just a hair. Let's see what that does. And the gravity set to the y-1. Okay, so let's rewind. And let's play. So I think I'm going to set it at that. So let's just do that. I'm going to come back. I'll take the root. Let's set it at 0, 0, 0. Rewind. Now I'm going to let things settle for a minute up to, let's give it some, let's give it like maybe 200 frames here. So we'll let it settle till maybe frame 60. So I'm going to take this and make a key at 60. And then let's go to frame 100. And I'll move the character forward. And you don't have to worry about that stuff because it'll update. And let's key that. And make him go up a little bit. I guess I'll turn on auto key for that. And then here, maybe have him go down just a little bit. And here, let's just rotate him that way. And here, make him rotate back that way. Okay, so now I'm going to come in here and let's play 30 frames, save. And let's just play the simulation from 1 to, I don't know, 120. So we'll go back and let's just hit play. So at frame 1, I'm also going to put a keyframe with him here. Okay, so it's remembering where it was at the last frame. So let's go right here and let's put that keyframe back there. Okay, so then I could come in, let's select the keys on the tail, select the hierarchy, let's bake the simulation out. I just want to bake out the rotation. Keys, bake simulation, channel box, bake. Okay, so then I could come in, delete the nucleus, I could delete the dynamic hair stuff, and I've got the keys for the dynamic tail. So let's say we said it started at 60. So we could go from start at 60 and we went to frame 82. Or frame 100 rather, sorry. So then we could just bake those keys out. Keys, and let's do this. Keys, bake simulation, bake. Actually, what I needed to do is just to bake the spine out. Best way to do that would be to take the spine out of the hierarchy, and it would have been better off to parent constrain. Edit, undo, parent constrain, and maintain the offset. Bake simulation on the joint. I'm going to select them. Keys, bake simulation, channel box, selected, bake. Okay, so then I don't need this. So now here's an animation. If I want to use that, of course, I might want to, adjust the curves or the stiffness in the tail, but there it is baked. And then what I could do is I could reveal this tail, and I could go through and constrain this tail to that tail and animate that constraint from the beginning to the and then again at the end. That should work. So you could set that up, or you could just set up a animate between poses, and that would be just as easy. So that's pretty much how you'd bake out the tail and the cape. And if you want to set up a collider, what you could do is, well, I already deleted the constraints, but when you make the system, but when you make a collider, you want to go and it's going to be under effects and hair, pardon me, and cloth, and create passive collider. Have fun.